What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today I'm trying to shoot a video in a little bit different location in hopes that I can get more content out, because there's just not going to be enough daylight for me to be shooting outside like I usually do, given the fact that I don't even get out of bed till 1 o'clock these days. I've been totally fucking useless. So, as you can see from the title, what we're going to be talking about today is my biggest steroid regret of all. Now, before you guys panic and freak out and think that I'm telling you that I regret running Tren, that's not what the title says. What I regret massively is the fact that I have ever cycled Tren. One of the things that you guys seem to really enjoy seeing on my fucking channel is basically my Tren-induced rants, or what I've been calling Tren-induced rants, because they always coincide with me starting a new Tren cycle. Every single time I start Tren, there is a very, very specific set of circumstances that arise in this house. There's a very certain, there's certain behavior patterns that I've talked about in countless videos. Anybody who has ever used Trenbolone will know exactly what those characteristics are. Because this video title might attract some people to my channel who haven't seen any of my videos before, the most common side effects that I experienced when I started Tren cycle are right out the gate within the first week or two is extreme sexual aggression. You can set a clock by this. Even on Tren E, by the end of the first week, my performance and my attitude in the bedroom is out of control. And then by the end of about week 2, serious irritability and aggression start coming on. When I was still actually working before I kind of temporarily retired, I would start noticing very quickly just extreme irritation with my coworkers. I suffer from something that's called misophonia on top of everything else. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of this. I'm like really easily irritated by certain sounds. High-pitched noises primarily, but mainly it's fucking chewing. Being around somebody who's chewing and hearing that shit is enough to make me fucking homicidal. I can't even be around my wife. Like, I love my wife more than anything in the world. And we can be laying in bed at night, and she has this particular meal that she likes to eat that includes tortilla chips. And my wife has some type of like mutated jaw structure where she seems to be able to like defy the laws of physics or something, because she can put food like cereal or chips into her mouth, and when she chews it, it sounds as if she was banging that shit, like she was crushing it with a hammer right next to my fucking eardrum. It's unbelievable. It's like her mouth amplifies sound massively louder than it should be. And it'll make me mental. On Trenbolone, that shit is enough to start a fight. So obviously there's a lot of Tren aggression, Tren rage, the strength comes on in the gym, and then depending on your dose, you can have a whole host of side effects. So when I was running doses in excess of 200 milligrams a week, usually by week 3 or 4, my sleep is suffering massively. I struggle to get to sleep at night, and because I can't sleep good, then that starts to leading to the famous Tren paranoia. And Tren paranoia is fucking no joke, guys. It will have you believing all kinds of insane shit. Also for me, as the cycle continues, I usually get locked into some very obsessive compulsive disorders or sort of obsessive compulsive behavior start to manifest. This usually in my life manifests in the purchasing of an extreme number of sex toys. I don't know what, right about the time that I want to start like crazy shopping is when my libido is peaking, and for some reason, man, I start getting crazy ideas. As anybody who will know who's ever done Tren or who's followed guys like Derek, I think he did like an entire video about this. Tren can make you, I hate to say a drug makes you do anything, but Tren seems to induce in people a willingness to engage in sexual behaviors they have never engaged in life. So you have to be really careful with that shit. There's dudes that will write hilarious posts on Reddit saying they went gay for the first time on Tren. guys and gals engaging in swinging and doing all kinds of shit that they end up regretting, and can sometimes be the thing that destroys a marriage or a relationship. So all of these things and many more, I'm not going to go into every single fucking trend side effect. I've never had trend cough, trend sweats. I said the paranoia, the lack of sleep, the extreme aggression, road rage, crazy libido. Those are the major ones. And so one of the things you guys seem to enjoy a lot is when I go on a trend cycle, I start making some fucking unhinged YouTube videos, because that shit just gets on top of me. Usually it causes my wife and I to start fighting. And then I take all of that pent up anger and aggression and I pour it out on camera. And believe me, I love those videos too, man. Like, I go back when I'm sane and I watch them and it's like, holy fuck. It's a rude awakening, you know, when you see how you were behaving when you thought one set of circumstances and then like what that looks like now. So, the reason that I say that I regret ever cycling Trenbolone is because all of the side effects, or 90%, 80% of the side effects, the negative side effects that come along with a trend cycle, come because you're on a cycle. Meaning that you were not on trend and then you started doing trend. And when you start injecting trend, the side effects, for me at least, and I think that when I read the comments on this video, many of you are going to agree, the side effects primarily come in that first 4 to 6 weeks when the hormone is increasing in your system. So when you start injecting trend, let's say you're taking 200 milligrams a week, it's going to take about 6 weeks, give or take, before you reach peak serum concentration. That's where the Trenbolone stabilizes in the system. And so really the whole problem, in my estimation, with what we as bodybuilders do to ourselves with these cycles is that we are cycling hormones. We are taking hormones where we have this big increase in a dose and then a plateau for a while, and then we come off and the hormones crash. And it's these ups and downs that cause the vast majority of the problems. So, how can you run trend and either avoid or limit the negative side effects that you experience when you run this compound? What I have discovered is that you just don't cycle it. You run it indefinitely. So what I am finding through extensive amounts of experimentation is that really running trend is, to me, is hormone replacement. Like, I run trend alongside my hormone replacement now. I run 100 milligrams a week, every week. I have been running that dose. Sorry, I'm shaking my camera around a little bit. I've been running that dose for going on 6 months now, I think. I will probably run that dose until I die. If I do anything to my trend dose, it will be to reduce it to 50 milligrams a week, which I think honestly would be sufficient, or maybe somewhere in the middle, like 70, 75 milligrams a week. Currently at 100 milligrams a week, I'm having really no problems. I have all of the positives and little to none of the negatives. Now, if I'm being totally honest, my sleep is still negatively affected even at 100 milligrams. I certainly think it is more negatively affected than when I was on 50 milligrams, which is was probably the only reason that I will ever lower my trend dose again. The reason that I never just jumped on trend and stayed on trend is because of all of the fucktards online that tell you a bunch of shit about Trenbolone that is absolutely categorically fucking not true. Trenbolone is not hepatotoxic. I don't know why the fuck people keep saying this. It's not hepatotoxic. I've proven that in my own experiments where I've run trend and I've got my liver checked, and my liver was totally normal after extended periods of time of running low doses of Trenbolone. Trenbolone is not hepatotoxic, so you do not have to worry about running it long term. It's not going to fuck up your liver. Trenbolone, in my estimation, is not neurotoxic. The only reason it would possibly maybe even be neurotoxic is if you were running doses high enough to where you were absolutely not sleeping. I mean, if you're getting 5 hours of sleep a night, because you can sleep that little on tren and still be able to be functional, then there is the risk of beta amyloid plaque buildup, which is proposed to be a component in the development of like Alzheimer's disease, dementia, Parkinson's, things like this. So there are neurodegenerative conditions that are potentially caused by beta amyloid plaque buildup, which is potentially caused by not getting a sufficient amount of REM sleep, which is definitely a side effect of Trenbolone use. So aside from that, there really, in my estimation and from my own personal experimentation, is there's no reason to go on and off tren. And so most hormones, like you can go on and off test, on and off Masteron, and most of the hormones are very mild in their side effect profiles, especially in their psychological side effect profiles. So if you blast and cruise on test or mast or whatever, like these things are fine. Obviously you can't stay on gigantic cycles. I mean, I seem to think that I can, but most people are not going to want to stay on, a fucking gram a year round. And I'm certainly not recommending anybody to do that. So if you're a competitive athlete, obviously you're bulking and cutting, you're going to be going through a lot of different things. And so cycling is going to be to some degree unavoidable. If you're a young man and you don't want to be on the needle permanently like I am, and so you get off so that your body can recover and start making its own testosterone again, all of these are good reasons to I guess cycle. As far as I'm concerned, the reasons to just fucking not be on steroids. I really don't understand anybody, honestly, at this point who is not on TRT fucking period. Like, honestly, I have gotten to the point where I don't know why we allow anyone. I mean, obviously, if you just don't give a shit about bodybuilding, fine. But if you're a bodybuilder at all, if you have any intention of being consistently in the gym, even if you're not bodybuilding, even if you just want to be as healthy as possible and as fit as possible, and you're not interested in blasting and cruising, I still don't know why you're not on TRT. Like, why would you leave it to your body to go through its diurnal rhythm of ups and downs of hormones? I mean, this is what makes women fucking totally insane when they go through their periods. Their hormones are going up and down, and it is the fluctuations in hormones that cause the problem. So I've been on Trenbolone now, like I said, for I think going on 6 months. And so for those of you who are like hoping there's going to be a Tren rant video coming out tomorrow, it's not that I couldn't get fucking good and pissed off and make that content, but it's not the norm in my life when I stay on tren. That crazy lunatic guy you see in some of these videos that I make, that shit is not sustainable, guys. Like, I would kill myself or somebody else. My wife would certainly leave me. I would have no ability to function. Excuse me. I've been sick for a few days. I would have no ability to function in the workplace. I would have no ability to maintain healthy relationships with anybody in my life. And so while it's always fun and exciting to see some guy have a total fucking meltdown and get real aggressive, and I know that like pumps people up and makes them want to get in the gym and fucking lift heavy weights, that shit is absolutely, totally counterproductive to any kind of healthy relationship. So I see people all the time in the comments, they'll be on my channel or Sarah's channel, and they'll be like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for this poor girl. She's in this terrible fucking marriage with this guy. And we just laugh about it because, like, you just see this sliver, Like, I'm not usually getting on my YouTube channel in moments like right now, honestly, where, like, if you're following me on Instagram, you will see some of, like, I wrote my wife this text last night in the middle of the night, and she shared it on her Instagram and tagged me in it, so it's on my Instagram. I am so madly in love with my wife. It is impossible to put into words. And so for the vast majority of the time in our marriage, we are like literally attached at the hip. And then somebody sees like a 3 or 4 day period where I'm fucking absolutely losing my mind and foaming at the mouth and melting down on the camera and fucking threatening a divorce and I'm being a fucking tren rage maniac, and people are like, oh my God, this is what this poor woman has to deal with. And it's like, yeah, she does occasionally, when I cycle, have to deal with a really bad week or two. And she kind of just fucking like tucks her chin and stays out of the fucking way. And it's a real thing, you know? When she cycles, like, dude, if your girl takes fucking anabolics, that shit is like trend for them. Their bodies are not used to having huge androgen spikes. And so my girl started testosterone again not too long ago. And we got in a fight one day and she was acting insane. And I just was like, dude, I got to get the fuck out of here. I just said, I'm leaving. I'm going to the gym. And I'm driving down the road and I'm thinking about the way she's been acting and the shit she's been saying. And all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, she's coming up on test. Like, that's where this is coming from. She sounds like me. She's fucking snapping on me the way I snap on her. And that's all it was. It was just that she started taking tea again, and a little tiny bit of tea in a woman's body can have near Trenbolone effects. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes down. And so, of course, it was easy for me to spot. And I even texted her. I was like, look, baby, I think you're fucking nuts right now because you're coming up on tea. And so I'm not going to engage with you. I'm not going to say or do anything to make this worse. I know how this feels. I love you. I'm going to go hit a workout and I'm going to be home in a little while. And that was the end of that shit. Like, I think she was able to maybe even like take a minute and go, yeah, dude, like, this is not the way I talk to him. This is not the way I react. And so we both go through that shit to some degree or another. And it is always on the come up. On the come down, you get a whole different host of problems. You know, like if I was to stop taking the trend for any length of time, that first 4 to 6 weeks, you're feeling like, okay, cool, man, I can handle this. No big deal. Like, I'm not missing it. I'm kind of enjoying like a little bit of a, like the edge is gone. I'm not thinking about murdering everybody who cuts me off in traffic. I'm not having to catch myself from like breaking dishes and knocking windows out in the house every time somebody, like fucking does something you don't really like. I'm not like losing my shit every time my wife eats a Tostito chip, Like in that first 4 to 6 weeks, you're like, damn, this is kind of really great not having this trend load on my brain. But by week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, depression comes on. You start feeling the absence of that drug. Because those first weeks, it's not gone. It's just coming down. You're on the decline. And on the decline, things can feel better. And so you're like, oh my God, why did I ever do this shit? Well, then when the drug's completely gone from your system, you fucking remember real quick why you stopped taking it. If you're blasting testosterone and you have to take a bunch of Arimidex to offset your testosterone dose, and then you decide to come off T or lower your dose, your estrogen is going to be all over the fucking place. And that shit is going to break your dick. You're going to have one of two things occur. You're going to stop taking the high dose of test. Let's say you're taking 700 milligrams of test a week, gram of test a week. And that, for me, at 500 milligrams a week, I have to take 3 milligrams of Arimidex. So if I decide to step it down to 200 milligrams a week, it's hard to figure out when to lower the Arimidex dose. If you lower it too fast, then you get gyno and your dick doesn't work good. If you lower it too quickly, then you crash your fucking, one way you crash your estrogen and you lose all interest in women. The other way you cause your estrogen to get too high, and that causes your dick to not work very good, and it's like a lot of you bitch tits, and you start crying all the fucking time. It's crazy. So all of the negatives of really most any steroid cycle come on the come up or the come down. It is the fluctuations that cause the problem. The beautiful thing about the human body is that it is very, very highly adaptable. So when I start taking 100 milligrams of Tren, I turn into a maniac for the first couple of fucking, week to two. But once the shit gets stable in my system, you would not know I'm on trend. I've been on trend for 6 months. I'm not taking people's fucking heads off. My wife and I have not had a big fight, and I can't remember when. Like I'm just a normal everyday guy. Now don't misunderstand. I'm still on trend. So if you cut me off in traffic, and flip me the fuck off, I'm going to come unhinged. It's not like the shit is not still in there and it doesn't cause problems. It's definitely still in there. I go to the gym, I feel the trend. Somebody gives me a good excuse to be pissed the fuck off, I feel the trend. Okay, I'm not telling you that it disappears. I'm telling you that the significant, serious mind fuck where the trend is controlling you instead of you controlling the trend, that is primarily only going to occur in the come up. And so that is why I stopped cycling trend. I just stay on that shit basically fucking year round. I ran a 1 year trend cycle, then I took 3 to 6 months off, and then I've been back on for 6 months. And as far as I know, I'm perfectly healthy. Now I could die tomorrow. You know, Joe probably thought he was perfectly healthy too, and he's fucking dead. I've been planning on making another video, that may be my next video, talking about why I did the about face on Joe Lindner's passing, because that was what it freaked me out when he died, and I was like, oh fuck, you know, I'm gonna pull the plug on all the gear, and that shit didn't last long, as many of you predicted. And so I'm probably gonna make another video here pretty quickly about why I had that total about face and why I'm now not only not running gear, but planning on running gear until it fucking kills me. So there you have it. I just wanted to point that out because I think it's one of the things that gets overlooked the most in the bodybuilding community, is that, you know, it's just become second nature that we just cycle hormones. And so guys are going up and down all year long. And that is really honestly the single fucking worst thing you could do. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, this is not medical advice, don't break the law. My anecdotal opinion on the matter is that you should find a cocktail of drugs that you can run long term and that will allow you to reach your performance enhancement goals at the minimal amount of side effects, ideally no side effects. Where I'm currently at, I have no major biomarker problems with the exception of my cholesterol, and I'm not trying to pretend like that's not major. It is potentially major. I'm of the opinion that it's probably not going to kill me tomorrow, and I'm currently working on how to mitigate that or what I'm going to do about that long term. But at the end of the day, anytime you're using these substances, you're fucking taking a risk. Staying on trend long term, staying on hormones at all long term is definitively, you know, a risky proposition. Left ventricular hypertrophy is one. You know, atherosclerosis, I think is the right way to say it. I manage my blood pressure so I don't have hypertension issues. There's lots of things you can do to mitigate risks, but you cannot prevent them. Doing this shit long term is not about longevity. It's about optimization. I have chosen to live an optimized life for an undoubtedly and likely shorter period of time than an unoptimized life for a longer period of time. I don't have any desire to die at 95 the way my grandparents did. I don't really have any desire to be 75. If I could see both my kids live to walk out the door of my home and start lives of their own, I would feel like I hit the fucking lottery. If I can continue blasting gear the way I do, or running gear the way I do, and lifting and doing all these things, and live to be 65 or whatever, I would think that would be a fucking miracle. So I'm certainly not expecting that, but that would be great. So there you have it. I think if for those of you out there who have ever run long-term cycles, I would love to get your opinions on this. Did you experience the same thing, that by basically staying on smaller doses for long periods of time, that you find that your body really handles it a lot better? You know, has this worked for anybody else? And if there's anybody out there who is struggling with the psychological side effects of tren, or you've tried tren before and you think it's not the drug for you, you might look at it again in a low dose for an extended period of time before you rush a judgment. Now, again, I only use Tren E. And the reason being is because, again, I believe that all of the negatives come from the ups and downs, and Tren A is just too much fucking up and down for me. So I only run long esters. So there you have it. Hopefully I didn't scare you with that title. I am definitely committed to continuing to run the Tren. As I mentioned in my previous video, I'm currently at Tren E 100 milligrams per week, Masteron E 300 milligrams per week, Testosterone E 500 milligrams a week, 5 IUs of growth hormone, and that is all of the performance-enhancing drugs I'm currently using, along with all of the ancillaries necessary to keep that action going. One more thing that I'm going to mention, I'm trying to make a concerted effort to cranking out as much content as possible. There was a period of time where my wife was doing her own YouTube channel, and what I'm actually thinking about doing is trying to talk her into making some videos about a number of topics and just put them on my channel until she can develop enough of a following here to really warrant having one of her own. And then maybe if she's making videos and I'm making videos, then that's more content coming out on a regular basis. And I think that there's some fun things that she and I can do. I have recently been on a compulsive shopping streak. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you will know that we were traveling for a while, and I came back from traveling, and I got depressed sitting around the house, and I started buying fucking couture, high fashion, luxury goods for my wife. So we are at the fucking mall every day. She's got more Versace and Dior and fucking Chanel and shit all over this house, and dresses and purses and all kinds of crap. So makeup. So excuse me again. I'm sorry, guys. I've had stomach bug. So I'm thinking about having her do some reviews and on some of all that stuff and get her in some of these sexy dresses for those of you who might like to see that. So hopefully there will be a variety of content coming up. I'm trying to really dedicate myself to it this year. I decided that if I'm not going to go back to work, which it's starting to look a lot like that's going to be the case, that I have to at least be doing something that has the chance at turning into something. I'm at like almost 8,000 subscribers right now. Obviously, this is almost, this is not going to be a full-time job for me, but at least it will give me some meaning and purpose in life. If I can go back to making videos and feel like I'm doing something productive, even if it's just helping you guys or entertaining you guys or, something. I just can't sit around the house fucking doing nothing all the time. It makes me miserable. So we'll see what happens with the travel plans. Hopefully there'll be tons more content to follow. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.